Silence tells a story that anger never can. The loudest reactions often fade within hours, but the quiet decision to stop caring can last forever. That is why the greatest mistake many people make is believing that a kind person will always stay kind, always forgive, always understand, and always return no matter how they are treated. They mistake patience for weakness. They mistake compassion for dependence. They mistake forgiveness for permission. Then one day, everything changes without a warning. There is no dramatic speech. There is no final argument. There is no desperate attempt to fix what has already been broken. The person who once carried everyone's emotional weight simply puts it down and walks away. That moment surprises almost everyone because it happens after months or even years of silent disappointment. Many people think deeply caring individuals fall apart when life becomes too painful. The truth is often very different. They adapt. They grow. They become stronger in ways that nobody expected. The heart that once stayed open to everyone slowly learns the value of a locked door. The person who once answered every message, solved every problem, and forgave every mistake begins to protect their peace instead. Suddenly, the same people who ignored their kindness start asking what happened. The answer is usually much simpler than anyone wants to admit. Respect was replaced with expectation. Appreciation was replaced with entitlement. Love was replaced with convenience. By the time those mistakes become obvious, the opportunity to repair the relationship may already be gone. The most surprising part is that this transformation is rarely driven by hate. It is driven by exhaustion. Emotional exhaustion changes people more than anger ever could. It teaches lessons that comfort never will. It creates boundaries that endless patience failed to create. Psychology has shown that people who are highly empathetic often experience emotional overload because they naturally absorb the feelings of others and spend enormous amounts of mental energy trying to help, support, or understand the people around them. Over time, this constant emotional investment can lead to burnout, compassion fatigue, and a powerful need to protect their own well-being. From the outside, this shift may look cold or distant. In reality, it is often the first time they choose themselves after putting everyone else first for far too long. That is why the quietest person in the room may also be the strongest. Their strength is not found in shouting louder or winning arguments. It is found in knowing exactly when enough is enough. Many people never notice this strength because kindness hides it so well. They only recognize its value after it disappears from their lives. Throughout this video, you will discover why deeply empathetic people reach a breaking point, what slowly pushes them toward emotional distance, why their silence often carries more meaning than words, and why the people who take advantage of their kindness are usually the ones left with the deepest regret. You will also learn what psychology tells us about emotional boundaries, why constant giving without respect eventually becomes impossible, and why one small misunderstanding about kindness has quietly damaged countless relationships. Some of these facts rarely become part of everyday conversations, yet they explain why certain people seem to change almost overnight, when in reality, that change has been building beneath the surface for years. Stay with us until the very end, because the final lesson may completely change the way you look at empathy, forgiveness, and emotional strength. It could even help you recognize a silent turning point in your own life, or in someone close to you before it is too late. If you enjoy thoughtful videos that explore human behavior, relationships, and the hidden patterns behind the choices people make, then you are in the right place. Welcome to the channel. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another journey into the fascinating truths that shape the human mind and the connections we build every day. Most people use the word empath as if it describes someone who is fragile, overly emotional, or unable to deal with the harsh side of life. That picture is incomplete. A person with deep empathy is often much stronger than anyone realizes because their strength comes from carrying emotional weight that many others never even notice. They naturally pay attention to small changes in people's voices, facial expressions, and behavior. They can sense when someone is hiding sadness behind a smile or pretending everything is fine while quietly struggling inside. This does not mean they have magical abilities or can read minds. It simply means they are highly aware of emotions, both their own and those of the people around them. That awareness makes them the person friends call during difficult times, the family member who remembers everyone's problems, and the coworker who steps in without being asked. They rarely need recognition for these actions, because helping others feels natural to them. It is part of who they are. They often believe that if they can make someone else's burden a little lighter, then the effort is worth it. While many people focus on winning arguments, highly empathetic people often focus on preserving relationships. They ask themselves why someone acted a certain way before judging them. They search for reasons instead of excuses. They try to understand pain before responding with anger. This quality can make them incredibly comforting to be around because they listen without rushing to interrupt. They allow people to speak freely. They remember details that others forget. They notice when someone seems different, even if that person insists everything is normal. Small acts of kindness become habits rather than special occasions. They check on people after difficult days. They celebrate small victories. They offer encouragement even when they are dealing with their own problems. To the outside world, these actions may seem effortless, but every act of emotional support requires energy. Every conversation that carries another person's pain leaves behind a small emotional mark. Most people never see that invisible cost because the empathetic person keeps smiling and continues giving without asking for much in return. Many deeply caring people grow up believing that love must be proven through sacrifice. They learn that being useful makes them valuable. They become the dependable one, the patient one, the forgiving one. Over time, this role becomes part of their identity. If someone forgets an important promise, they forgive it. If someone speaks harshly after a stressful day, they explain the behavior instead of reacting to it. If someone disappoints them again, they tell themselves that nobody is perfect. This pattern repeats again and again because they genuinely believe people deserve another chance. They know what it feels like to make mistakes, so they extend the same grace to others. That ability to forgive is beautiful when it exists alongside mutual respect. It becomes dangerous when respect disappears, but forgiveness continues. At that point, kindness slowly changes from a gift into an expectation. People stop appreciating what they receive because they assume it will always be there. They stop saying thank you because they believe support is guaranteed. They stop worrying about consequences because every mistake is followed by another opportunity. Without realizing it, they begin taking advantage of the very person who once inspired their gratitude. This change rarely happens overnight. It begins with small moments that seem too insignificant to matter. A forgotten promise here, a canceled plan there. Messages answered only when help is needed. Conversations that revolve around one person's problems while ignoring the other person's feelings. At first, none of these moments seem serious enough to damage a relationship. The empathetic person notices them, but they choose peace over confrontation. They convince themselves that everyone has difficult days. They remind themselves that stress affects behavior. They continue giving because they believe patience will eventually be appreciated. Unfortunately, not everyone responds to patience with gratitude. Some respond by asking for even more. Human nature often adapts to whatever becomes normal. When endless understanding becomes normal, people stop recognizing its value. They begin expecting it instead. What once inspired appreciation slowly becomes invisible. There is another reason this cycle continues for so long. Highly empathetic people often dislike conflict. They do not stay silent because they are weak. They stay silent because they believe arguments create unnecessary pain. They hope that kindness will solve problems before confrontation becomes necessary. Sometimes that hope is rewarded. Honest people notice their mistakes, apologize sincerely, and make changes. Those relationships grow stronger because both people value each other. But relationships built on selfishness follow a different path. In those situations, silence is misunderstood. Patience is mistaken for permission. Forgiveness is confused with endless acceptance. The more understanding the empathetic person becomes, the more careless the other person may grow. It creates a quiet imbalance that becomes larger with every passing month. Many people assume that those with deep empathy never get angry. The truth is that they experience anger just like everyone else. The difference is what they do with it. Instead of reacting immediately, they often bury it beneath understanding. Instead of expressing disappointment, they explain away another person's behavior. Instead of demanding change, they wait and hope things improve naturally. Each time they ignore their own hurt, they place another emotional burden on themselves. One burden feels manageable. 10 burdens feel heavy. 100 burdens begin changing the way they see the relationship. The other person may believe everything is fine, because no major arguments ever happen. Meanwhile, the empathetic person is quietly collecting memories that never fully disappear. Every broken promise remains stored somewhere inside. Every moment of feeling unimportant joins the ones that came before it. Every act of disrespect leaves a mark, even if forgiveness follows shortly afterward. One of the greatest misunderstandings about kindness is the belief that kind people do not notice unfair treatment. They notice far more than most people realize. They simply choose not to react immediately. They pay attention to patterns rather than isolated events. One mistake means very little. 2 mistakes can still be forgiven, but repeated behavior tells a story. That story slowly becomes impossible to ignore. It reveals who values the relationship and who only values what they receive from it. While everyone else believes nothing has changed, the empathetic person is quietly observing. They are asking themselves difficult questions. Is this relationship healthy? Does this person truly respect me? Am I appreciated only when I am useful? Those questions become louder every time disappointment repeats itself. People who constantly take without giving often believe they understand the empathetic person completely. They think they know exactly how the next conversation will go. They expect another apology they never earned. They expect another chance they never deserved. They expect the same forgiving response, because that has always been the pattern. Confidence grows from predictability. When someone always stays, others begin believing they always will. This false certainty becomes one of the biggest mistakes people make. They fail to recognize that every patient person also has limits. The difference is that those limits remain invisible until they have already been reached. The emotional weight continues building in quiet ways. The empathetic person becomes tired, but not physically. Their mind grows exhausted from constantly carrying responsibilities that do not belong to them. They become the ones solving everyone else's crises while hiding their own struggles. They remember birthdays, offer encouragement, provide comfort, settle disagreements, and support dreams that are not even their own. Yet when they finally need someone to listen, the room often becomes much quieter. The people they helped may be too busy. Some disappear completely until they need another favor. Others assume the empathetic person is always strong enough to handle everything alone. This painful misunderstanding creates loneliness that is difficult to describe because it exists even while surrounded by people. Eventually, the pattern becomes impossible to deny. The issue is no longer a single conversation or one disappointing day. It becomes the realization that giving has replaced receiving. Caring has replaced being cared for. Understanding has replaced being understood. At first, this realization brings sadness instead of anger. They wonder if they expected too much. They question themselves before questioning others. They search for flaws in their own behavior because they genuinely want to be fair. That willingness to examine themselves is another reason they remain in unhealthy relationships longer than many people would. They keep believing that if they become even more patient, even more understanding, even more supportive, everything will finally improve. Yet unhealthy patterns rarely disappear simply because one person becomes kinder. The breaking point is almost never dramatic. Movies often show relationships ending after one unforgettable betrayal, but real life usually tells a different story. It is the slow accumulation of hundreds of ordinary disappointments. It is hearing promises that are never kept. It is feeling invisible during conversations. It is watching effort flow in only one direction. It is being remembered only when someone needs help. It is giving emotional energy without ever feeling emotionally safe in return. None of these moments alone seem powerful enough to end a relationship. Together, they slowly reshape the heart. Like drops of water wearing down stone, each disappointment appears small until enough time passes for the damage to become impossible to ignore. The outside world rarely notices this process because it happens quietly. The empathetic person keeps smiling. They continue showing up. They continue supporting others. Deep inside, however, a quiet shift has already begun, and although almost nobody can see it yet, the direction of the relationship is about to change forever. Every relationship leaves a lesson behind. Some teach us how to trust. Others teach us when to let go. The people with the kindest hearts, often spend years believing that giving more, forgiving more, and understanding more will eventually change everything. Sometimes it does, but sometimes the greatest act of love is not holding on. It is finally choosing peace over pain. That quiet decision is not weakness. It is wisdom earned through countless moments that no one else ever noticed. Never measure someone's strength by how softly they speak. Sometimes the kindest heart is also the one that knows exactly when to close the door forever. By the time that door closes, it is rarely because of one mistake. It is because too many chances were given, too much respect was ignored, and too much kindness was taken for granted. The saddest part is that many people only recognize the value of a genuinely caring person after they are no longer there. They miss the messages that always checked in, the quiet support that expected nothing in return, the patience that made difficult days easier, and the loyalty they assumed would never disappear. Some losses cannot be repaired because they were created one small choice at a time. So before expecting endless understanding from someone who always stands beside you, ask yourself whether you have shown them the same care, respect, and appreciation they have freely given to you. Sometimes a simple thank you, a sincere apology, or one moment of genuine kindness can protect a relationship that might otherwise slowly fade away. And if you are the one who has spent years carrying everyone else's emotional weight, remember that protecting your peace is not selfish. Setting healthy boundaries is not cruelty. Walking away from repeated disrespect is not failure. It is choosing a life where kindness is shared instead of exploited. In the end, the strongest people are not always the loudest. They are often the quiet ones who keep loving until love is no longer enough. And when they finally leave, they do not leave to punish anyone. They leave because they have finally learned their own worth. If this video made you see empathy, relationships, or kindness from a different perspective, take a moment to let it stay with you. If someone in your life came to mind while you were watching, perhaps today is the right day to appreciate them before it becomes too late. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories and insights about human behavior, relationships, and personal growth. Give this video a like if it spoke to you, and share it with someone who might need to hear this message today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.